Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am in Pasadena, California, and behind me is a classic legendary house called the Gamble House, but it was best known arguably as Doc Emmett Brown's 1955 house. You've seen it in the movie Back to the Future, well, the exterior, but I'll tell more about it and the history of the house. There's a historical marker here. Let's check it out. All right, so the sun's about to set, so I'm here in the evening. And on the lawn here is the California Historical Landmark 871. And here's what it reads here. The Gamble House. Built in 1908, the David B. Gamble House is a tribute to the genius of architects Charles Sumner Green and Henry Mather Green. Its design represents a unique California lifestyle and is a masterpiece of American craftsmanship. In 1966, it was made a gift by the Gamble family to the City of Pasadena in a joint agreement with the University of Southern California. And this was placed here on October 19th, 1974. And as I was saying, 11 years later, the landmark Back to the Future movie was released in 1985, and this is where Michael J. Fox, or his character Marty McFly, was running because he desperately wanted to get back to 1985, so he found it in the phone book at Lou's Diner and made his way up these steps. Although this was at nighttime, so so this house is open for tours, not now, but you have to pretty much reserve it. But you can also check Google and the Gamble House website. But I'm just going to kind of give you a little tour of the outside. So this is the scene where, now after Marty McFly confidently responds to Doc Emmett Brown's question, "Okay, future boy, who is the president of the United States?" "Ronald Reagan." "Well, I suppose Jerry Lewis," or I can't remember if he said Jack Benny or who else, "as the vice president." And of course, Doc Brown didn't take him seriously. He said, "Well, I suppose Jane Wyman's the first lady," and we all know what happened to that. But yeah, that's where they run to, and okay, correction. That's where he says, "I know how it all happened. I know how it all happened, Doc. It was at these doors right here." Yep. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, this is open to the public, even when there's nobody here. And Pasadena residents, I'm sure they get a kick out of visitors visiting the spot. Okay, here's a great shot of the side of the exterior without the sun blocking me. And as we all know, P&G or Procter Gamble, they make stuff that we use every day. They own lots of products, not just soap products, but a lot of household care and whatnot, more than we know. He wanted to retire from active work in 1895, and his wife, Mary, began to spend winters in Pasadena, residing in the area's resort hotels. But by 1907, the couple had decided to build a permanent home in Pasadena, and in June, they bought a lot on the short private street Westmoreland Place, which is this, and it was also known as Millionaire's Row. I think a lot of cities had those at the time. But at the same time the Gambles were selecting their lot on Westmoreland Place, a house designed by the firm of Green & Green was being built for John Cole on the adjacent property. And that's where they agreed on a commission. Drawings of the house were completed by February of 1908, and that was when construction and ground was broken. So their youngest son, Clarence, was also living here too. Their oldest son, Cecil, was already working for P&G, and their middle son, Sidney, had just started at Princeton University. Mary's younger sister, Julia, also came to live with the family here, but by the summer of 1910, all the custom-designed furniture was in place. And until the deaths of both David and Mary, now David passed away in 1923 and Mary passed away in 1929. This was when the house was used by them. And then Cecil Huggins Gamble and his wife, Louise Gibbs Gamble, began living in the house after Julia's death in 1944. And then they briefly considered selling it, but they soon changed their minds when prospective buyers spoke of painting the interior teak and mahogany woodwork white. They realized the artistic importance of the house, and it remained in the Gamble family until 1966. And then, as it says on the marker, it was deeded to the City of Pasadena with a joint agreement with the University of Southern California School of Architecture. And then I'm not really quite sure how the whole Back to the Future deal went down. I'm assuming the production company or the studio decided to use cheap locations to film, so that's where this place came in, or maybe they wanted to give it more publicity. And as the story goes, now a lot of people behind the scenes did not believe Back to the Future was going to be a hit. They thought it was just going to be another science fiction joke. So maybe that was why it was filmed here, but I'm not entirely sure. But hey, I mean, this will either be known as the Gamble House, which is now known, or the Doc Emmett Brown house from 1955. So this is the back of the house. Now, I was told that is the kitchen, and by the way, that is my friend Vince, or Adventure Vin. Now, what were you saying was behind those doors again?
So I was able to be here on the Valentine's Day with my uncle. So behind those doors is this big main living room, kind of with a rendition of what you might have seen in the movie, although it wasn't that exact room.
No.
But now the furniture and the architecture and the glasswork is very similar to what you see in the movie, but it's not in that room. But that's the sitting area living room. This is where a kitchen was. And when we toured it, I think we came out of these doors.
Okay.
And they had tables here for us to eat.
Okay, so there were tables here when you were here. Okay. That looks very common for, that looks like a church pew almost. So without these trees, I wonder what kind of view they would get. I know, again, the sun's kind of blinding, and I just got caught up in the spider web. Whoopee. But, wow. So there's a stone pathway. I don't know where that leads to. I guess it leads to one of the places down there. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, just outside the Gamble House in Pasadena, California. Signing off.